The grand hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with energy. Bright lights sparkled from the ceiling, reflecting off the shiny, colorful decorations. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the room, celebrating their recent victory over the humans. Music played softly in the background, adding to the festive mood. Commander Zorak, a tall, green-skinned alien with sharp features, stood at the front of the hall. He raised a golden cup filled with a glowing liquid. "To our great victory," he shouted. The crowd cheered and lifted their cups in unison. Their laughter echoed through the hall, drowning out any thoughts of danger. As Zorak looked around, he felt proud. His people had crushed a small human settlement with ease. They had fought bravely, and now they enjoyed the fruits of their success. "We are the strongest in the galaxy," Zorak declared, his voice booming. The council members cheered even louder, clinking their cups together. Across the room, Vela, a short alien with blue skin and bright yellow eyes, shared a story about the battle. "Did you see how we captured their ships?" she said, her voice full of excitement. "They didn't stand a chance." Another alien, a large creature with 3 eyes and a thick tail, nodded. "Humans are weak! They are not worthy of our power." The crowd roared with laughter, enjoying the moment and feeling invincible. But as the celebrations continued, one alien named Krell stood apart from the crowd. Krell was not convinced that the humans were finished. He had a feeling in his gut that something was wrong. His dark purple skin shimmered in the light, but his face was tense. Krell had always been a cautious alien. He had studied humans closely and knew they were unpredictable. While others partied, he decided to investigate. He slipped away from the festivities, heading to the command center. Inside the command center, Krell spoke to the officer on duty. "Send a scout ship to human space," he ordered. The officer raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "We won! They are weak." Krell shook his head. "We cannot be careless. I want to know what they are planning." The officer hesitated but eventually nodded, understanding Krell's concern. A scout ship launched into space, leaving the celebrations behind. Meanwhile, back in the grand hall, the festivities reached new heights. Dancers twirled and leaped, showing off their moves. The music grew louder and the crowd clapped in rhythm. Zorak took another sip from his cup and smiled. Suddenly, the doors burst open and a group of alien soldiers rushed in. Their uniforms were pressed and their faces were serious. The atmosphere shifted instantly. The crowd hushed, curious about what was happening. One of the soldiers stepped forward. "Commander Zorak, we have a report from the scout ship." Zorak frowned, setting his cup down. "What is it?" The soldier swallowed hard. "The scout has detected unusual activity in human space. They are gathering forces." Gasps filled the room. The joyful atmosphere turned tense. Zorak waved a hand to calm everyone. This must be a mistake. Humans cannot fight back. But Krell, who had returned just in time, spoke up. "No, we must listen. We cannot ignore them." Zorak frowned, but the worried expressions on the faces of the council members made him reconsider. "Very well," he said. "We will investigate further. But tonight we celebrate!" Reluctantly, the council returned to their festivities. However, the laughter now felt forced. The fear of what lay ahead hung in the air like a storm cloud. Deep down, Krell knew the humans would not stay silent forever. As the celebration continued, a sense of unease settled over Krell. He watched the dancers spin and the council members drink, but his mind was elsewhere. The humans were not defeated. They were only waiting for their chance to strike back. The next day, the Galactic Council gathered again in the Grand Hall. Although the celebrations had ended, the atmosphere was tense. The news of the scout ship's report lingered in the minds of the aliens. Commander Zorak stood at the front, trying to maintain order. "Today we will discuss our next steps," he announced, his voice strong but tinged with worry. The council members murmured among themselves, exchanging glances filled with uncertainty. Vela, the blue-skinned alien, leaned forward in her chair. "Do we really think the humans are a threat? They are just a small, weak species." Krell, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "That is what we thought before. They are capable of surprising us. We need to take this seriously." Some members nodded, but others shook their heads, still not convinced. Zorak cleared his throat. "Let's focus. We should send more scouts to gather information. We cannot underestimate the humans." Just then, a young officer burst into the room. He was out of breath and clearly frightened. "Commander, we received another report from the scout ship." Zorak frowned, sensing trouble. "What is it?" The officer hesitated, looking around at the council members. The scout ship spotted a large group of human vessels. They are gathering in their territory, and they are not alone. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the officer, who continued. There are reports of humans from other planets joining them. They are preparing for something big. Gasps filled the hall. The council members looked at each other, their earlier confidence fading. Vela's voice shook as she asked, "What do you mean, preparing for something big?" The officer swallowed hard. They are building new ships, and their technology seems advanced. They might be planning an attack on us. Zorak clenched his fists, trying to keep control of the situation. We need to act quickly. We cannot let them catch us off guard again. Krell spoke up, urgency in his tone. We should send a larger fleet to confront them. We need to show them we are not afraid. Some members nodded in agreement, but others looked worried. What if we are walking into a trap? One asked. Humans can be clever. Zorak considered this. We must be careful, but we cannot show weakness. We will send a fleet, but we will do it smartly. We will gather more information before we act. As the meeting continued, Krell felt a knot of worry in his stomach. He remembered the stories of human bravery and their unexpected tactics. The last thing they needed was to underestimate their enemy again. After the meeting, Krell found himself wandering the empty halls of the council building. He needed fresh air. As he stepped outside, he noticed the sky was gray, matching the mood inside. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. Krell turned to see a small scout ship approaching. It landed softly nearby, and a figure stepped out. It was the captain of the previous scout mission, her face serious. "Commander Krell!" she called out, rushing toward him. "I have more news. You need to see this." Curiosity mixed with concern as Krell followed her back to the command center. Once inside, she pulled up a holographic display of human ships. There were hundreds of them, all moving together in formation. Krell's eyes widened. "They are not just preparing, they are organizing," he exclaimed. The captain nodded, her expression grim. "We need to alert the council immediately. If we wait too long, it might be too late." Krell agreed, his heart racing. "Let's go!" They rushed back to the grand hall, bursting through the doors. Zorak and the council members looked up, surprised by their sudden entrance. Krell stepped forward, breathless. "We have new information. The humans are gathering a massive fleet. They are readying for war!" The room erupted in chaos. Some members shouted in fear, while others demanded to know what to do next. Zorak raised his hands to calm them. "Quiet! We need to think clearly!" he shouted, but Krell could see the panic in his eyes. As the council members argued, Krell felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. They had celebrated too soon, and now danger was closer than ever. The humans were not just a minor threat. They were becoming a formidable enemy. The tension in the grand hall of the Galactic Council was thick. After hearing Krell's urgent news, the council members struggled to focus. Zorak, the commander, paced the floor, deep in thought. He knew they had to act quickly, but how? Across the hall, Commander Alesia, a fierce and experienced warrior, watched the chaos unfold. She was known for her bravery and quick thinking. Alesia stood tall, her bright red armor shining under the hall's lights. She felt a sense of duty to protect her people and knew she had to speak up. "Everyone, please listen," she called, her voice cutting through the noise. The council members turned to her, curiosity mixed with concern. "We need a strong leader to take charge of this situation. We cannot let fear control us!" Zorak paused and nodded, recognizing her courage. "You're right, Alesia, but who will lead our fleet against the humans?" Alesia stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. "I will! I know how to fight, and I understand humans. I've studied their tactics and their ways. We need someone who can outsmart them." A murmur spread through the council. Some were impressed by her bravery, while others questioned whether a woman could lead such a crucial mission. But Alesia was not one to back down. "I have fought in many battles," she continued, her voice steady. "I have seen humans in action. They may be clever, but they also make mistakes. I can lead our fleet and turn their mistakes to our advantage." Zorak nodded, feeling a spark of hope. "If you believe you can do this, then I trust you. We will send you with a strong fleet." Alesia's heart swelled with pride. She knew the responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders, but she was ready. "Thank you, Commander Zorak. I will not let you down." As the council settled down, Alesia began to plan. She gathered her most trusted officers, including Krell, who had proven to be wise and resourceful. They huddled in a corner, discussing strategies and tactics. "We need to approach this carefully," Alesia said, pointing to a holographic map of the galaxy. "The humans are gathering their forces here, near their home planet. We should wait for them to come to us." Krell nodded in agreement. "Yes, we can set up traps. If we lure them into a position where they are vulnerable, we can strike hard and fast." Alesia smiled, appreciating Krell's insight. "Exactly. We can also send out false signals to confuse them, make them think we are elsewhere, while we prepare for their arrival." The officers began to brainstorm, filling the room with ideas and excitement. Alesia felt a sense of unity among them. Together, they could face the challenge ahead. After the meeting, Alesia gathered her fleet. As she stood on the command deck, she looked at the crew before her. They were ready, eager to fight for their home. "Listen up, everyone!" she shouted, her voice ringing with confidence. "We have an important mission ahead. The humans are gathering forces, but we are not afraid. We will protect our galaxy!" The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by her words. Alesia felt the weight of her responsibility, but she was determined. As the fleet prepared for launch, Alesia reflected on the battles she had fought. She remembered her first fight as a young soldier, the fear and uncertainty. But she had learned to be brave, to trust her instincts, and to fight for what was right. The ships lined up, ready to leave the hangar bay. Alesia took a deep breath, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. She would lead them into battle, and she would make sure they were prepared. "Let's show them what we're made of!" she declared, raising her fist in the air. The crew erupted in cheers once again. As the ships lifted off into the starry sky, Alesia felt a sense of purpose. She was not just a commander, she was a protector of her people, and she would fight with everything she had. With determination in her heart and her crew by her side, Alesia set her sights on the approaching storm. The humans may have gathered their forces, but they were about to face a brave commander who would not back down. Alesia's fleet soared through the stars, each ship gliding with precision. Inside her command ship, the atmosphere was electric. Alesia stood at the helm, gazing at the glowing map of the galaxy. The humans were gathering their forces, and she could sense the urgency in the air. As they approached the edge of human territory, her comm officer, Lyra, turned to her, concern etched on her face. "Commander, we are picking up strange signals. It seems the humans are communicating in a way we haven't seen before. They are planning something big." Alesia frowned. "What kind of signals? Can you decode them?" Lyra worked quickly, tapping on her console. "I'm trying, but it's complex. They seem to be coordinating their fleets. If we don't act fast, they could launch an attack on us before we're ready." Alesia felt her heart race. "We need to warn the Council. If they don't understand the seriousness of this situation, we might lose everything." Lyra nodded, already sending a message back to the Galactic Council. The minutes felt like hours as they awaited a response. Alesia paced the command deck, her mind racing. She knew the Council had been skeptical about the humans, but they were about to face a significant threat. Finally, a reply came through. It was Zorak's voice, steady but urgent. "Alesia, we have received your message. We are convening an emergency meeting of the Council. Report back immediately." Alesia took a deep breath. Lyra set a course for the Council chamber. "We need to get there fast." The ship turned, engines roaring as they sped back toward the Galactic Council. Alesia felt the weight of her mission heavy on her shoulders. She had to convince the Council of the danger that lay ahead. When they arrived, Alesia rushed into the Grand Hall. The Council members were already gathered, looking anxious. Zorak stood at the front, ready to address the situation. Alesia stepped forward, her heart pounding. "Commander Zorak, Council members," she began, her voice strong and clear. "We are in grave danger. The humans are not just gathering, they are forming a united front. They have advanced technology and a plan to attack us." Murmurs spread through the room. Some Council members looked shocked, while others remained skeptical. Vela, the blue-skinned member, crossed her arms. "How do we know this isn't just a trick? We cannot assume they are a threat without proof." Alesia felt frustration rising. "I understand your doubts, but we have intelligence from our scout ships. They are communicating and preparing in ways we have never seen before. If we wait too long, it will be too late." Krell stepped forward, supporting Alesia. "She is right. We need to take this seriously. The humans have surprised us before. We must not underestimate them again." Zorak nodded, trying to maintain order. "We will listen to your report, Alesia. Present your evidence." Alesia nodded and turned to Lyra, who activated the holographic display. The room filled with images of the human fleets, data about their communication signals, and videos of their ships being constructed. "This is what we've gathered," Alesia said, pointing to the screen. "They are organizing. They have formed alliances with other species. This is not just a small group, it's a large coalition ready for war." The council members exchanged worried glances. Vela's expression shifted, showing a hint of concern. "What do you propose we do?" "We need to prepare for battle," Alesia said firmly. "We must strengthen our defenses and gather all available forces. We cannot afford to be caught off guard again." Zorak looked at Alesia, his expression serious. "You are asking us to put our entire fleet on alert. This is a significant decision. If we act, it may escalate the situation." Alesia felt the weight of the council's decision resting on her shoulders. "I understand the risks, but the risk of inaction is greater. If we wait, we may face a disaster we cannot control." The room fell silent as the council members considered her words. Finally, Zorak spoke. "Very well, we will hold a vote. If the majority agrees, we will prepare for battle." Alesia nodded, feeling a mixture of hope and anxiety. She had done everything she could to warn the council. Now it was in their hands. The fate of the galaxy rested on their decision, and Alesia could only pray they would act before it was too late. The council chamber buzzed with tension as the vote took place. Alesia watched nervously from her place among the council members. The fate of their galaxy hung in the balance, and she could feel the weight of everyone's gaze upon her. "Votes are being counted," Zorak announced, his voice steady but serious. Alesia held her breath, hoping for a majority to agree with her. The minutes felt endless. Finally, Zorak raised his hand. "The council has voted. The decision is to prepare for battle." Relief flooded through Alesia, but before she could celebrate, the alarms began to blare. The sound echoed through the chamber, sending chills down everyone's spine. Red lights flashed, and the atmosphere turned from cautious hope to instant panic. "What's happening?" shouted Vela, her voice filled with fear. Lyra, Alesia's comm officer, rushed forward. "Commander, we are receiving urgent reports. The human fleet has crossed into our territory." Gasps filled the chamber. The council members began to shout, their voices rising in chaos. "We must evacuate," someone yelled. "We need to send reinforcements," another cried. Alesia's heart raced. "No! We need to stay calm and assess the situation. If we panic, we will make mistakes." But her voice was lost in the rising commotion. Zorak attempted to regain control, but fear had gripped everyone. He banged his fist on the table, trying to silence the crowd. "Everyone, please! We need to focus. Alesia, what do we know about the human fleet?" Alesia gathered her thoughts, trying to push aside her own panic. "They are moving quickly. Their ships are equipped with new technology. If we don't act now, they could reach our capital in hours. Then we must evacuate the city," Vela insisted, fear etched on her face. "No," Alesia replied firmly. "If we evacuate, we show them our fear. We need to show strength. We must prepare our defenses and set up a blockade to stop their advance." Zorak nodded, finally regaining his authority. "Alesia is right. We will not run. Instead, we will stand our ground. We will alert our fleet and position them at strategic points." As the council members began to take action, Alesia felt a sense of purpose wash over her. She turned to Lyra. "Send a message to our fleet. We need them ready for battle. Tell them to prepare for the worst." Lyra nodded and began typing furiously on her console. Alesia watched as the chaos of the chamber began to calm. The council members, though shaken, started organizing themselves. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside. The walls shook and dust fell from the ceiling. Panic erupted again as everyone rushed to the windows. They could see ships darting through the sky, their engines roaring as they clashed above. "We're under attack!" shouted one of the guards, his face pale. Alesia's heart dropped. "No! We need to organize our defense now!" She rushed to the front of the chamber, looking out at the chaos outside. The humans had launched their first strike. Explosions lit up the sky, and Alesia could see her people scrambling to prepare their defenses. "Zorak, we have to act!" Alesia urged. "We can't wait for orders. We must take control of the situation." Zorak nodded, his expression grim. "You're right. Everyone, to your stations. Prepare for battle." The council members scattered, each heading to their assigned duties. Alesia felt the adrenaline surge through her veins as she took charge. She called out orders, directing her officers to fortify the defenses and ready the weapons. "Lyra, keep the communication lines open. We need to know what's happening with our fleet," Alesia shouted. "Already on it, Commander." Lyra replied, her fingers flying over the controls. As Alesia organized the defense, she could see the human ships advancing. Their sleek forms glimmered ominously in the light of explosions. Panic gripped her heart, but she pushed it aside. "We will not back down," she muttered under her breath. "We will fight for our home!" With her mind focused and her resolve strong, Alesia prepared for the battle ahead. The council may have panicked, but she would not let fear control her. This was her moment to lead, to protect her people, and to show the humans that they were not to be underestimated. The battlefield buzzed with activity as Alesia and her crew prepared for the upcoming fight. Outside the council chamber, the sky darkened with the shadows of the approaching human fleet. The atmosphere was tense. A mix of fear and determination filled the air. Alesia stood at the command station, her eyes scanning the chaotic scene unfolding before her. Explosions lit up the horizon as blasts echoed in the distance. She could see her fleet mobilizing, ships darting into position, ready to defend their home. "Lyra!" Alesia called, urgency in her voice. "What's the status on our fleet?" Lyra's fingers flew over the controls as she monitored the communications. "Commander, our ships are in position. They are awaiting your orders, but we are outnumbered. The human fleet is massive." Alesia felt a knot in her stomach. She knew the odds were against them, but they had to fight. "We cannot let fear paralyze us. We need to be strategic. Tell our fleet to hold their ground and engage when the humans get close." Lyra nodded, sending the orders through the comms. Alesia turned her attention to the view outside. The human ships were closing in, their sleek designs contrasting sharply with her own fleet's bulkier vessels. Each ship was equipped with weapons that glinted ominously in the fading light. Suddenly, the alarm blared again, cutting through the tension. "They are launching fighters!" Lyra shouted. "They are coming in fast." Alesia felt her heart race. "Prepare our defensive systems. We need to hold them off until reinforcements arrive." As the human fighters swooped down, Alesia's crew sprang into action. She could see the panic in their eyes, but she knew they had to stay focused. "Stay calm! We've trained for this. We can do this!" The first wave of human fighters burst through the clouds, firing their weapons. Alesia watched as explosions erupted around her fleet, flames and debris flying through space. The chaos was overwhelming, but she knew they had to stay strong. "Return fire!" she commanded. "Target the incoming ships!" Her crew reacted swiftly, their fingers dancing over the controls. The air was thick with tension as the ships exchanged fire, lasers shooting across the dark void. Alesia's heart raced with every blast. She could see her ships firing back, bright beams of light piercing the darkness, but the humans pressed on relentlessly. "Reinforcements are on the way," Lyra reported, trying to keep her voice steady. "But they won't arrive for another 10 minutes. Alesia nodded, trying to think quickly. "We need to hold out until they arrive. Focus fire on their lead ships. We can weaken them!" As her crew followed her orders, Alesia felt a surge of hope. They were holding their ground, but she knew they couldn't keep it up for long. The human fleet was relentless, their tactics sharp and precise. It was clear they were well prepared for battle. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the command ship. Alesia stumbled, gripping the console to steady herself. "Damage report," she shouted. "Shield generators are holding, but we've taken some hits," Lyra replied, her voice strained. "We need to regroup and focus on defense." Alesia took a deep breath, trying to maintain her composure. "Tell our ships to form a defensive line. We must protect the capital at all costs." Just as her orders were being relayed, a massive shadow loomed overhead. Alesia looked up to see a massive human warship descending, dwarfing her fleet. It was an intimidating sight, and a chill ran down her spine. "That ship looks like it could take out half our fleet with one strike," Lyra exclaimed. "We can't let them intimidate us," Alesia shouted, her voice strong. "Focus our fire on that ship. We need to stop it from getting any closer." The crew responded, determination shining in their eyes. Alesia felt a wave of pride wash over her. They were fighting together, and together they would stand against the human fleet. As the battle raged on, Alesia's heart pounded in her chest. She knew the fight was only beginning, and every moment counted. She had to lead her people through this storm. The fate of their world depended on it. "Remember," Alesia called out to her crew, "we are fighting for our home, our families. We will not back down." With those words ringing in her ears, Alesia prepared for the fight ahead. The humans may have thought they could crush her people, but they were wrong. This battle would determine everything, and she was ready to fight for her world.